there is a tax burden that Sean is proposing on people in this constituency that they can ill afford. That is that group of people that I described a minute ago. And this is consistent with his wanting to repeal H.R. 1, which brought tax relief up and down the spectrum. This is consistent with his embracing the progressive income tax, which has a huge, huge target on the backs of the 6th District, his opposition to a property tax freeze, his advocacy in favor of a gas tax, this payroll tax, and I've argued that the 6th District cannot afford Sean Casten's tax plan.
Can I speak on taxes, because it's not how much money comes into you through the tax code. It's how much stays in your pocket. I moved out here from Massachusetts to start a company because Illinois was a vastly more attractive place to run a company than Massachusetts was. I had the infrastructure of O'Hare Airport and the highways. I had access to talented people. I had an affordable cost of living. I mean, San Francisco's, you got access to good people as well, but it's pretty expensive to recruit and retain people there. There's a lot of good things about Illinois. And when you have a tax code that makes education more expensive, when you have a tax code that as it sits today, we haven't raised the gasoline tax since 1993. Inflation has gone up by 65% during that period. That makes it harder and harder and harder for us to fund our infrastructure. If you are also making student loans more expensive by taxing college endowments, if you're doing all these things, you're leaving less money in people's pockets, and it's the money in the pocket that matters, not how much gets there. The reason I criticize the tax bill numbers, and this is a bit more wonky, is that number one, the numbers that Peter has cited describe an average median family in the district of having $135,000 income. The average family in this district makes $97,000. The median family is $125,000, and average median is not a math term. I don't know what that is. So it's overstated where that sits. And what's happened that I think we should be really, really concerned about is that there's a short-term pickup because the doubling of the standard deduction reduces everybody's withholding. So you may have a short increase in your pay, but as a district that has one of the highest state and local taxes in the country, if you live in Hinsdale, your average state and local tax is $43,000. That means that the $10,000 tax cut has $33,000 of tax liability you're facing this year that you didn't have before, and that is not factored into where you're withholding. So I would submit that if you are a member of the Ways and Means Committee and you know that, you should be out there telling your constituents right now, be careful, because you're going to have to end up writing a big check when tax season runs around because you've been under withheld, because you live in a district where wealth is a bit higher than average, the state taxes are higher than average, and those things aren't being factored in. So when you run all those things through, and you factor in the fact that, as best I can tell, the way that Peter got his math was in a calculator that assumes you took the standard deduction last year and you also took it this year. This year it's in your interest, last year it wasn't in your interest. You hugely overstate. So
let's ask Peter, how did you do your
right? So it's it's the tax foundation that Sean mentioned a minute ago that says the median income for a husband and wife and 2 children in the 6th Congressional District is $135,000. The average, the relief that they're going to get is $4,600, which is why this is so popular. So here's the interesting thing. Sean opened his comment by talking about how much stays in your pocket. And then he argued about taking more out of people's pockets, that is, through the gas tax and so forth. Now, the look at Zillow's report, the real estate report, the most recent numbers from this year in July. Type in 6th District zip codes, and what you will find is not what Sean described with falling housing numbers. You will find that it's up 5%. What you will find also is that any limitation as it relates to state and local tax deductibility was done within the context of doing what? Lowering all the rates, doubling the child tax credit, extending it, not topping out at $100,000, but extending it up to $400,000. It eliminates completely the alternative minimum tax for 30,000 taxpayers in this constituency who otherwise would have historically been hamstrung by it. So Sean, and there is probably no bigger difference between us than our view on taxes.